Hello, everyone. Somin, are you there?
Yeah, I hope I'm audible now.
Lovely. Are you audible? I
Cool.
hope I'm audible to you as well.
Yeah. Sorry. Let me see. I
Chalo,
should be.
lovely. Guys, in this video, we're just very quickly going to be discussing the Congress and BJP's manifesto from a very economic lens. It's a very informal conversation. Feel free to drop any questions that you might have at any point in time. As you can see, Somin's just shut his screen for a second. So that's how informal it's going to be. This video is going to be sponsored by this wonderful book, The Rise and Fall of Gautam Adani, written by yours truly. So do give it a read. We've been hearing a lot of positive comments on YouTube about this, but yeah. Anyway, I think with that, let us get started. We do have a few people joining us here.
To skip all of that and just dive right into it. Present the
Let's
manifesto video.
just out of curiosity, have you gone through the manifestos? Have you in general seen the manifestos of the two parties?
Not as detailed as I would like to. I just tried to glean through it. I have it open on my laptop, but yeah.
So one thing which I, for instance, really hate about the BJP's manifesto
Dude,
that
share your screen. Share your screen.
oh yeah. So present, share screen, entire screen. So one thing which I really hate about the BJP manifesto in general, letting alone getting rid of the comment altogether, is just how badly it is presented.
Dude, it's purely economic policy centered. Like, skip all of that. By the way, did you notice anything different from the previous manifesto, or in case you may have read that? So how
To
does the economic policy differ from 2019 to 2024? Like what's
a
new?
very
What?
large degree, as I see it, it's just a continuation of the previous term. To a very large degree. Okay, so if we really go through it very quickly, they talk about the same things pretty much. Let me very
So
quickly
I'll
get
tell
my
you what. Please again, hang on. When you notice BJP's manifesto, right? I feel that they touch upon unique themes, right? Like for example, they are actively trying to promote fishermen, right? You have that unique aspect, right? You have ease of living in cities. I don't see that in Congress manifesto, right? So if you were to glean the two manifestos purely from the perspective of economic policy and try to
Mhm.
distill the themes across it, you would see, I would say, a little bit of fresh perspective relative to Congress's. Congress is trying to win on the key or the sore points, right? Like giving out more free stuff, which always everybody enjoys.
Correct.
More pretty regressive in terms of economics, right? Because if you look at, they propose to increase tax rate, is what you told me. If that is
Huh.
the case, they should
I
really
don't.
think.
They've not directly mentioned anything with regards to tax
Okay.
rate. They've kind of alluded towards it in a very subtle manner, but it's very clear that they will be increasing the tax rates. And I'll
So
get to
again,
that.
tax rate in the first of all, the historic policy of high tax rate, right, which was about 97%, as we were discussing under. Yeah.
97.75%.
So there is
Right.
an optimal tax rate, and there's something called the Laffer curve, which determines the highest marginal tax collection at a certain tax rate, right? And it's definitely not at 97%. It takes your incentive to pay taxes.
Absolutely.
It's definitely towards 25 to 30%. Like that's the
In
sweet
fact,
spot
the
for tax.
97% tax is also blamed as the reason for the rise of black money in India, which was
Mhm.
never as prominent back in the days.
No, of course, right? If you take more than 50% of a person's wealth, what incentive do they have to pay taxes, right? So it's of course
Precisely. And no,
aggressive.
you're taking away 97% of the person's wealth. On top of that, you have an incremental wealth tax,
That's
which is
insane,
further
though.
things
Yeah.
like
So
that.
again, if you think of incentives from the point of view of economics, you've taken the incentive to create wealth, to progress economically, to have social mobility. It's all more about government freebies and ration system. So if they do propose to increase taxes, maybe it wouldn't. They should think of optimal tax, right? They should probably talk about optimal, like what would be optimal tax rate, right? That's one.
Nahin, absolutely. So that
And
through, I think let's start discussing very few points. Like I've made a couple of notes of the most interesting thing that I found about the manifesto. Okay. So largely in lines with continuation of Awas Yojana. So do you know what Awas Yojana is? I'm guessing you
yeah,
do.
housing.
Housing. So Awas Yojana has already been pretty successful. A lot of videos coming on online as well that a lot of housing is provided. They want to continue that, and they now want to cover a much larger horizon and a much bigger part. So they've talked about the Awas Yojana very clearly in their manifesto. They have quite a few pages to scroll through. That would be a little difficult. I also want to talk about Nari Shakti, by the way, which is very unique. But Awas Yojana is one of them. Other than that, they also want to talk very briefly about. They've also mentioned a lot about Make in India. So a lot of people actually consider Make in India to be a failure,
Mhm.
but I don't truly agree. You know why? Particularly in the case of
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead. Make your argument. Make your case.
really
Wait.
read through Make in India scheme when it was first introduced. There were three parts to it. There were three phases to it. First was overall sort of assembly line work, assembling phones, assembling these devices and so forth so that they can be export ready. The second part was getting deep into parts, like a certain set of parts. The third part was even more sort of parts. The only thing that has happened with Make in India scheme is that it has been substantially delayed. It has kind of not been cancelled out totally. It is not a failure, but it's just been delayed to a very large degree. It is stuck to the first phase of it so far. I mean, you still have a lot of phones getting assembled in India right now. 17% of all the iPhones which are actually exported from around the world, 17% of all of them are exported from India, which counts for something, and that can be attributed as a success of Make in India.
See, that's not the point. The argument which economists make is that the Make in India movement, or the intent was to raise the share of manufacturing as a contribution to GDP. Now, you might
Ah,
make the case that, oh, services growth is, whatever. But the point is, we've fallen, and
percentage of
there's also parallel shift from manufacturing or services to agriculture, which Raghuram Rajan points out, right, in one of the podcasts with Ranveer Alabhadia. So I'm going to cite that source, right? If that is true, that people are shifting towards agriculture, then in that case, Make in India is not the panacea or the success which you may think it ought to be. While it's a good shift in terms of thought process, or it's the right direction, it may not be the best in terms of yielding results, tangible results, because we see a movement from, again, secondary industries towards primary industries, which is again a traditional mark for a more primitive economy. So
Actually, let's just give this a check. I'm not sure if that is true because the last I remember checking the data, that wasn't true.
no, so escape करके
I
सुनो.
remember him mentioning it in
The share of
before.
manufacturing as a percentage of GDP is increased, and there's also
Oh no,
fallen
manufacturing the percentage of GDP has fallen. It used to be 13 or 14%. Now it's 12%.
16. It used to be 16 pre BJP. It's now
Uh,
at 12, or probably sub
it's at
12.
12 right now. In fact, one of the parts, very quickly you mentioned, one of the things, agendas of Congress's manifesto is to increase this thing from 12% to 20%. And they've
Yeah, and
talked a lot.
that's kind of their highlight from the UPA government historically. That go, we've lifted 220 million people, like doing Montek Singh Agarwal, his
Also, on top
government.
of that, this time along in Make in India, as a part of the continuation of the Make in India scheme, they want to cover semiconductors, chips, electric, and solar. Something very interesting about semiconductors
Who,
is
who,
that there
who's,
are only
who's
four
this? Is this
countries.
Congress or BJP?
It's BJP.
Okay.
Congress hasn't, like, so Make in India is the name introduced by BJP, right? ऐसा कुछ कांग्रेस ने भी नाम दिया नहीं है. But overall, the semiconductors that they're in particular talking about, right? So there are only four countries in the world currently which can actually manufacture semiconductors, which actually have a fab unit. So I mean, India is aspiring to be one of those. That counts for something.
No, when I look at Congress's manifesto, right, I don't see pivotal, fresh thinking, right? Like, you just look at the index for show the index, show the index. So, usme,
So
you know what? Look at the index, right? You see equity, youth, women, farmers, right,
uh,
defending the constitution. Wow, economy, taxation and tax reforms. Let's see. Okay,
exactly.
federalism, national security, environment. Right. So environment again is the last. I don't know why. It should be a priority if you're having a new thinking perspective, right? So they are in a very classic situation of, promoting old thinking, that freebie economics, and you have federalism, which has been a state issue of contention between the center and the states, right? Like, you don't give us enough funding. What is my reward for development if I'm in the south? So they're just trying to exploit that weaknesses and weak points, but it doesn't show unique, fresh perspective, right? Like, unemployment has been a very constant theme, which prevents us or thwarts us from taking a charge of the demographic dividend, which ought to be reaped by a young country like
They
ours.
have
But
talked about a couple of policies for that. For instance, apprentices will get 1 lakh rupees a year. So apprenticeship for basically anybody who's under the age of 25, any college graduate under the age of 25. A very big question would be how exactly the implementation of this would happen. They have not really talked about that, but in all fairness,
you
it's a
should further
manifesto.
also look at the proposals, right? Like, certain policies which they're proposing, right? Like 1 lakh rupees a month, sorry, one a
We
year.
will actually talk about that.
Let's talk
That
about
is
that as a burden on the state budget and see how
that
feasible
is
that is.
that is something which is very similar in the
Yeah.
BJP's manifesto as well. Okay, so what you're talking about is the Mahalakshmi Yojana, if I'm not
Okay.
wrong. It's
Yeah,
called the
it's right.
Mahalakshmi Yojana, in
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
basically women will get 1 lakh rupee per year,
So every
right?
poor Indian family, what's the threshold for this? Is it
So the
calorie
approximate
related?
number, I went through the data. The approximate number is 3 crore women will be getting this money.
And where was this number? Like, how did you hunt
It was
it?
like I was just looking at some data points as to how many exactly, and this was also mentioned by, I think, if I'm not wrong, Sashi Tharoor in another interview with Think School, that the number is approximately 3 crores. You see
Okay.
this, right? They wanna make basically they wanna make women in rural households lakpatis. That is the premises of it. I'll tell you something. I'll show you something pretty amazing. This is also a part of page 19 manifesto of BJP, but in a
So
very
they
different
both
way.
promote the same policies. Is
Not the
it the
same
free?
policy. They wanna as well make women lakpatis in rural areas,
But what's
but
the
in a
rule?
very
Yeah.
different way. Look at this.
Yeah. Zoom in. Zoom in.
We have empowered 1 crore rural women to become lakpati didis. We will now empower 3 crore rural women to become lakpati didis.
How? How? How?
They
Self-help
have
groups.
actually
Okay.
talked about it. So self-help groups, they want to get them into key sectors like IT, healthcare, retail, tourism. Sort of,
Mhm.
and this is the strategy which, according to them, they've already used to lift
So,
one rural.
hang on. Let's talk about initiatives such as one district, one product. Are you familiar with this? I'm not.
I'm not. I'm not.
Okay, we should look at this. Even ONDC, right? So, see, that's what I'm talking about, right? UPI, ONDC, these kind of reforms. I don't know. At least from a superficial level, seems to be more refreshing, something new. Which
On top of
and
that, even in the infrastructure work that they've done in general over the last. So there was a data point that under the Manmohan Singh government between 2004 to 2014, the average rate at which roads were getting built was 4 kilometers per day. Right now, the number sits at
it's a very
36
cited fact. It's fair enough. Okay. I mean, it's so talked about. Let's look at something new. I mean, everybody
kilometers.
knows that to some degree. I mean,
The
it's
1 lakh
props to them, but look at something different. I guess. I mean, we
in
don't
lakh
want.
scheme, right? So I did the math. So assuming
Talk
you
about
give
that.
1 lakh rupees to 3 crore women in the country, you're talking about a total expense of 3 lakh crores, which is $35 billion if you convert it to dollars. And that's half of the country's military budget. And that's more than the country's education budget. Just think
Right.
about it.
Yeah. So that's a good point because we're all everybody knows about how chronically underfunded our education and healthcare are. Right. As a percentage of GDP as well, it's probably close to 1%. It should be a number which I should have in my mind. Education.
It's like 2 or 3%. The health expenditure, the health
Okay.
sort of
Yeah, so
expenses.
yeah, exactly right. Because economics at the fundamental, it's about allocation of resources and trying to maximize utility. Like that's what they teach you, like in the first
Uh,
fundamental principle of economics. So, like from a very common man's perspective, if you were the citizen of your country and you were the owner of a budget, would you say that freebie economics is the best allocation of that 35
yeah,
billion,
obviously not. You've
or
seen
would
the
you say
failure of economics in Kerala. It's a classic example. The
even
state
Delhi?
is currently really struggling to even pay salaries to the government employees. So
So,
last month, as of April,
mhm.
there are a total of 5.5 lakh government employees in Kerala. More than half of them were not paid their salaries. I think
I
now
don't
in the
know
previous month it
where
was
I
near.
heard this from, but it's a very interesting case study, right? So sometimes freebie economics increases the inequality, and I'll tell you how. So you have free electricity,
Uh,
which is given to farmers, right? So what happens is rich farmers, by default, because they have advanced irrigation systems, use that to dig further down the water tables and get more, which again further depletes the water table. So they benefit by a higher output of water or a higher irrigation yield per hectare than poor farmers, right? So just a way of how they can benefit from like the income inequality gap widens because of freebie economics. That way, I think.
Also, it's
But
never truly feel free now, is it? Like I was reading this case study of
hmm,
Delhi. So it's been electricity obviously has been made free in private households. At the same time, the rate at which people are paying for commercial electricity, do you know how much do we pay per kilowatt?
8 or 9.
28 rupees. 28 rupees commercial unit.
Oh, okay, commercial unit. Wow, okay, that's too
28
much
rupees. Think about that.
because you make
You don't
businesses
have that
unviable.
anywhere
Yeah.
in the country. So
Your
you're paying
OPEX goes
one
up.
way or the other.
Mhm. So no, like you want to talk about you as in I'm talking about the policy person, right? When they're
Huh.
designing it, they would want, oh, we should have more companies, more youth employment. We should have more manufacturing. But then, as a provider of capital who would invest that to again manufacture something, I need
Huh.
to have my OPEX met, right? So any decision I make for capital allocation, I have a minimum percentage, right? I want an
Huh.
alpha over my risk-free rate. Otherwise, I would just put that money in the bank and be happy, right? So you need to incentivize the margins for capital deployment, and to do that, you have to probably look at the other aspects of this as well. So if you make electricity unviable, it might eat into the yield which I may get from my capital deployed. So
Also, very quickly, let's just look at what Congress, for that matter, has to precisely say about the taxation code. Okay, and this is the reason why I said that they'll most likely increase corporate taxes. Last 10 years, taxation gone berserk. The share of taxes paid by the common man and poor through regressive indirect taxes has increased significantly, and the share of taxes paid by corporates has decreased. So, this right here, I mean, I can make a conclusion that one of the things that they want to do is increase taxes, right? Increase corporate taxes. The exact opposite of what people friendly and progressive taxation policy should be. It just tells you that they want to increase corporate taxes.
Mhm.
And that is the entire logic. They want to basically change the entire tax code. So they want to eliminate angel tax, which is actually a great thing, honestly. Angel
Okay.
tax is usually paid by startups whenever they seek funding and so forth, right? So getting rid of that, a great idea. I don't really, I like that concept as a concept.
Mhm.
GST will not be levied on agricultural inputs. Again,
That's
very
not true.
easy.
Yeah.
I don't think that a farmer who's making 10 crore rupees a year or more than 1 crore rupees a year should not have to pay any taxes.
I
Do you know a lot
mean,
of rich people classify
yeah,
themselves as
yeah.
farmers just so that
I
they
know.
don't pay
Don't pay
taxes?
tax. Yeah, that's
I
very
mean, that's
common. It's pretty talked about
farmers
as well.
with an income below a certain threshold should not have to pay taxes. Just like any person for that matter, beyond like below a certain threshold. But rich farmers who like literally making hundreds of crores a year, why should they not have to pay any taxes? What sort of logic is that?
Mhm.
So I mean, that is something I inherently really disagree with. So,
Most people do, I guess.
for manufacturing, the current share is 14%, which they want to
This
take to
I
like.
think is a good target to have. Yeah, no doubt about this.
See, I really like this concept, but when you're increasing corporate taxes and when
No,
you're
no.
taking
Yeah,
off,
how would? Yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't align there. Yeah, it's a discrepancy.
it's very difficult to do it. Like, I mean, it's very easy to say a certain. I can create my party tomorrow and say that I'm going to take the GDP to $100 trillion.
Let's look at this part two, right? The most immediate objective will be to restore a healthy, fearless, and a trustworthy climate for business. While so again, that's contradictory in nature. And
Exactly.
hang on. Regime that was put in place deteriorated us into a system of overt and covert controls. So it's more rhetoric than fact. Because if you look at macroeconomic stability of India, our inflation is under control. Banking system has been cleaned up, by the way, which was mostly done under UPA government.
Huh.
Because you had
Well,
uh,
not exactly.
I
I
mean, Nirav
wouldn't.
Modi happened under yeah BJP government, but I mean they had to go through that
You
asset
know what
quality
happened,
review.
man? So the down cycle, the real impacts of the down cycle was seen under the BJP government.
No, no,
And
they
initially,
also gave bad loans, but my point is the bad loan thing started during UP, right? Crony capitalism. Even
huh.
Jyotiraditya Scindia in an interview, because he
Huh.
was in Congress, right? He admits to the fact that there was crony capitalism. Now, while I understand his incentive is to do that because now he's joined BJP, maybe we
No, I'll tell you
can.
something interesting. I'll tell you something interesting. So Warren Buffett, I don't think it has to do particularly with any party for that matter or any particular form of governance. Warren Buffett actually talked about this, right? And what he said was that you only get to know who's naked when the tide goes away.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, during good times, I mean, right now, I can be 100% sure that there are bad
Bad
companies
loans.
that have bad loans. There are
There
a
is
lot of
strength.
bad loans still.
These are competing for credit. Yeah. Sorry.
And nobody's going to get to know about it till the time there's a crisis.
No doubt.
And then 2 years, like 5, 10 years later, when there is a crisis, everybody would be like, "Oh, it was so obvious. There were so many
Yeah.
bad loans in the system back then."
Everybody's wiser in hindsight. I know that. Yeah.
Everybody is wise in hindsight, exactly. Look
But
at us.
point is this that it's all very rhetoric, burnished language, right? What is the policy here, right? Wait, hang on. Is there a policy prescription here? Go up, go up, go up. Are they supposed to give out that, or is it just?
They haven't really talked about it. I've skimmed, like I've read through their policies in general. They haven't really talked
Yeah,
about
मेरा point ये bullet list
it.
है.
Will attain a
Nobody.
position of leadership in steel, metal, garments, textile, cement. Again, very easy to say. So
Hang on. Go to BJP. Go to BJP. I think people maybe if we present this stuff like the current discussion may be a bit biased, right? So
they've
let's
also talked about even BJP for that matter. The inherent manifestos are not very different between the two parties. A lot of the things that they talk about are incredibly similar. Just trying to share my screen. Just one sec. I'm a little slow with this. Yeah. So this was Lakpati Didi's. We'll just scroll on. Youth Citizens Guarantee, Senior Citizens, Entrepreneurial Spirit, Kisan Saman.
oh let's go and I want to I'm curious about what uh,
Kisan Saman.
reform. Yeah, like.
Oh, firstly, the fact that they had to get rid of the farming laws, man. That was such
No,
a
so
bad.
what do they have? Like, how do they have anything interesting here, or is it
High
all?
yielding seeds. things along those lines, upgrading the current infrastructure.
Nano fertilizer. Okay, they do have nano fertilizer here, right?
You
Yeah.
know, something very interesting about India is India has one of the lowest crop yields amongst most countries.
So
India's crop
check
yields
this
are
out.
above average.
Nano urea. It's a very interesting concept.
What is it?
Nano urea. So what happens is it targets specific micronutrients in very adequate and yet necessary quantity. Like it's not over. It wouldn't bleach the soil fertility just because you dump fertilizer, right? It's very measured quantity, directed to improve the yields and the soil fertility itself. So nano fertilizers are a very unique concept that way. So Rahul was
How
talking about it.
how do
Yeah.
they not deplete the soil?
Because you use very specific measured doses. You don't dump the fertilizer on the soil, which currently happens. You evaluate the need of a particular nutrient, and then you evaluate the quantity of the particular nutrient,
That's
and you
pretty
have
cool.
very specific deployment that way. Yeah. Currently it's more about incentivizing people to use as much fertilizer as possible,
अभी तो
because
normal वाला डाल दो for every single. So
yeah,
basically,
but
nano fertilizers make it very customized. Like if your soil is deficient of a certain, like say potassium for that matter, you only feed it potassium.
let's just cross check this understanding, because this nutrients that are, yeah, they're coated with nanomaterial, so it's very controlled release of a fertilizer
हाँ,
and diffusion of soil. Yeah,
that
again,
was
it's
an
the important technology
manufacturing
behind.
for
Yeah.
them.
Okay, so
Uh,
again, that's a very unique, good point, right? So I
it
see,
is a good point. I like it. But again, it's, I mean, so here we come to
I see
manufacturing.
fresh approaches. Yeah. Okay, let's look at this.
So they want to basically, it's literally that they want to continue the entire thing with Make in India. Manufacturing is emerged as a major economic sector with good success in electronics, defense, mobile automation, automobiles, and more. We will work towards making Bharat a global
Again,
manufacturing hub. And
very random, right? You
it's
don't have
very
any.
general. It doesn't talk
Very
about a set strategy. So it just goes on to explain what sectors they want to work on. Thoda bahut.
flip. Look at some strategy, like
Gati Shakti,
unique.
PM Gati Shakti, the government will develop industrial cities in different. I think Dolera is a classic example of this. They shall
Hmm.
promote industrialization of backward regions in the country. I think next
Thought is
page.
good, but again, and of course that's obviously there in the manifesto. But what's unique
Uh,
stuff?
Balance and inclusive
Smart
development.
food
District.
processing hubs
I
equipped with
really like
cutting.
the concept of one district, one product. Actually, China is a great success story of this.
I asked you. You said you don't know about what it is.
Really? When was
Yeah,
that?
I pointed out what one district, one product is. And asked you, "Oh, do
Yeah,
you know this?
I think okay,
What the
fine.
hell,
I'm just,
man?
I mean, it's a great concept. China actually has this. So in
What
different
is it?"
regions, particularly in different regions of Shenzhen, so particular places in Shenzhen are dedicated to that particular product only. So there would be one particular area where just say for that matter, phone ke covers would be manufactured, and of different styles, like different things. It's a great strategy. And then there would be another place where just the cameras would be manufactured. So that way, like that one particular district only deals with that one particular good. There was a place in India historically where all the bangles used to be manufactured, if you remember about that. Another example of this is Surat. Surat is one area where most of the diamonds are polished. So take Surat for diamonds and spread it across India for different products. That is pretty much the
See,
strategy.
I get it, but if it's a very restrictive policy, right? Maybe
Why do you say that?
that's if it's a bit restrictive, right? That only this kind of good would be produced in a particular.
I'll tell you the advantage of that. For manufacturing any
It can
one
go wrong.
particular,
It can go wrong. So I understand Ricardian theory, comparative advantage. That's how a trade is
you get
progressed.
skills over there, you get a lot of likely, like sort of alike industries, like for
No,
manufacturing
I get
capital,
it.
a few
No, so
things.
theory, it works, right? But think about where you could go wrong when implementing
No,
this
it's not
particular
theory only.
policy.
Shenzhen is a success story of it. I mean, sure, there would
Shenzhen
be
is a
problems
success because they
getting it.
implemented it well, right? So I'm not any you can implement good policies poorly, which would result in poor outcomes.
No, that makes sense.
So my point is that if this one go up, scroll
Dude,
up.
oh, scroll up. There you
We're talking about one district, one policy, product wise. So if you implement it in a restrictive way, it might discourage opportunity costs, right? Like maybe you could have entrepreneurs setting up some good product there. So just curious to know how this is envisaged that way.
go. No, that makes sense.
Theoretically, of course, it's fine. You have comparative advantage working, but if it's restrictive, it's pretty detrimental. So again, right intent, poor execution can screw up the economy further. I feel
See,
that.
another one is promoting defense manufacturing. I think this is
Yeah.
something which has gone really well for India in
It's
general.
actually a bit tricky, right? Wouldn't it attract maybe because of our good?
By the way, Philippines recently bought. I'm not sure if it was Philippines or some other
BrahMos,
country.
BrahMos,
Basically,
BrahMos.
recently bought a lot of our fighter jets and
Yeah,
helicopters manufactured by India. And abhi
they
tak India
just
has historically only been an importer of these goods. Look at this. In the last 10 years, we've established a $100 billion electric manufacturing industry. This is precisely what I was talking about the success of Make in India. We've already become the second largest mobile phone manufacturer in the world, and our policies have resulted in generating huge employment opportunities in this sector.
they should give some statistic to back that up. I feel it's not good. But yeah, if that's the case, sure, good stuff. Um,
Obviously, as a share, it has only reduced because of the rapid growth in the
no,
service
that's
sector.
not true. Even my point is, there's been a reverse migration, right?
I
People
don't
have been
think that's
moving.
true, man. Let me have a look.
Go
Let me have
check the fact. I am quoting Raghuram Rajan on this, so that's my source. That
population.
I wouldn't expect the ex RBI governor to go wrong there.
I think he's gone wrong before about things. So
So yeah, I'm saying I wouldn't expect. I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying I wouldn't expect him to.
I think what's clear is that you're a little more sort of balanced
Balance.
in this.
I know.
I'm very.
I'm not ideology or policy oriented that way. Sorry, ideology oriented that way. It's due credit to whatever deserves.
So there is. It's hard to. Oh, yeah, here. I'm just gonna share my screen.
Is it incorrect?
It is. I'll show you the screen. Just one sec. Uh, it was partly because of COVID. So, and it did not totally happen. Present screen, share screen. Yeah, have a look at this. So this is the percentage of the country involved in
No, it's
agriculture.
coming up. It's coming
If
up.
you really compare,
एक
just one.
second. Is this is not a good data source? Trading economics, really? Good. Look, go to some good data source. नहीं
No, but
क्या
I mean,
कुछ
honestly, it would be fair. So you get the
no.
trajectory and you get the
I
reason
want
why
to
they're
look at
saying
this.
that.
Hang on, no, bro.
I mean, sure,
Share of
you can share your screen
people.
and you can just get me some
Yeah,
data.
let me just Google it first. But you, yeah, go ahead, finish your point. People employed in
So here's the
agriculture.
catch: if you compare 2014 to, for that matter, 2020, then obviously that's true because 2014 when it was 45%, it was equal in 2020 as well. But if you really look at the long-term trajectory, it's only been declining, with COVID being one of the reasons why it went up. And obviously, it wouldn't necessarily happen, right? Because during COVID, there was a lot of reverse migration. A lot of people from urban India went to rural India because you would just go plan both, na palayan. So at that point in time, a lot of shift happened for that matter in the demographics, and a lot of those people did not return all the way to 2022, which is why there was a sudden rise post
That's a
2019.
good thesis, but again, look at the data. I only have it till 2021. I want to look at it till 2023.
That's fine. Give me the data for 2021. That speaks a lot in itself.
Because it supports your thesis, right? But what if it's increasing till 2024 or
No, but you're
2023?
already seeing the decline here. Na? You're already seeing a decline post 2020. So I
Agriculture.
would expect that this number is only continued. This decline is only continued in terms of trajectory, or even if it
I
hasn't,
don't
then
trust
very
this
minor
data.
increase.
पहली बात तो please remove this. I don't know trading economics का data कहाँ से आ रहा है. Let's look at some government source. Let's align on a true source of data first, right? So
Sure, let's do that.
Statista is good, I guess. Let's see if you have some ministry data by any chance. See again percentage. Okay, I'm looking at percentage of the workforce. By the
Uh,
way, employed. Um, it's labor force participation rate. What are you looking at?
labor force participation, primary, secondary, and tertiary.
Um,
Ah, God. It's pretty hard to find this, honestly. I've done it in the past.
yeah, we should.
Yeah, have a look at name. There's not too there's no
रुक जा, रुक
data.
जा, रुक जा, रुक जा, रुक जा. Broader question is, what is the answer? Yeah, you should look at periodic PLFS, periodic labor force
ये वाला ना
survey.
2018 2019 though.
नहीं ये पुराना है नया देख.
Let's just change the dates. Let's see
So
if they have.
he quotes, but if you look at the unemployment, if employment situation, another biggest concern is employment in agriculture is going up according to the PLFS, while
But
employment
that
in
was a
manufacturing.
one-time thing. I think even if that were true,
Please
it's a
look at
one-time thing.
latest data यार देखने देना.
कहाँ
Let's
पे
look
है
at.
ये? I'll let you share your screen. Share your
I'm
screen.
looking at economics time का article. I don't have the data. I'm trying to hunt the data.
Try sharing
While
your screen.
hang on, there's a PLFS data. Okay, let's look at PLFS data 2023. We have to Google individual years of PLFS and then compare it. Okay, so I'm just going to do that 2024. Let's see if they released it. Quarterly bulletin आया है.
Yeah, what is the
Uh,
percentage?
I'm looking. I'm googling it. So I have it open. Labor for in usual 15 years.
Let's see if they have 2022 2022 का data. 2023 तो होगा नहीं अभी. They don't have it pretty much anyway. 2022 तक का है. They don't have it beyond 2022, and you again see the same trajectory.
But hang on, is it showing you breakup by industry? I can't see that.
It's not by industry; it's agriculture in general, in rural employment
See,
between
show
fiscal
me
year
that. Can
1991
you
to
please
19.
share? Yeah, just
Yeah.
share it.
So on. Share screen. You again pretty much see a decline.
Hang on. Where do you distribution of
Distribution of
agriculture?
agricultural employment in India, and this is rural employment. So the net would be just lower than this. There's a clear decline in this.
We should understand it better. Now he may be referring to some other strain of
I
this.
mean, sure, he could do that by referring to 2014 as one data point and 2020 as one data point. In that
That's
case,
not what I'm talking about. But he's not doing that, dude. You just
you're
against him.
assuming
I'm
that
trying
he's
to
not
understand
doing
his
that.
perspective.
I mean, if
I
I
mean,
were him and I was supporting that side, I would have done exactly the same thing.
you don't know he's doing that, right? My point is he's a
Yeah, but
trained
all
expert.
the data that we've seen so far is precisely that. No, it just tells you that he's probably doing that.
That's not right. We haven't looked at the original source of truth. But anyway, if you want to speeden things up to make your point, go ahead and make it, and then yeah, move on.
I
That's
think
all
let's
right.
yeah. So I think the focus on on manufacturing remains sort of
You
steady.
can't come to conclusions that easily. But yeah, fuck it. Go
So
ahead.
it remains steady in both these. So let's look at other things that they're proposing, right? So making Bharat in textile. Textile manufacturing is actually one of the things in which India has actually declined. So it used to be, so the number used to be a lot higher, but it has recently gone down. Sort of both in absolute terms and as a percentage. Lab grown diamonds, India again makes sense. Biomanufacturing makes sense. By the way, if they've talked about something called research linked incentive. So I'm guessing you know about PLI, right? Which is production linked incentive, wherein people are basically companies are paid a certain fee or a certain amount as an incentive when they produce a certain amount of goods, right? So the more you produce, the more you get as incentives. Now they've introduced something called research linked incentive in this manifesto. As a part of that, and this is particularly for the pharmaceutical sector. So if you research and if you find like sort of new kind of drugs, for that research you get a certain incentive, which is pretty interesting in my opinion.
No. See, well, that's what I'm saying. They have unique perspective, like unique themes in their manifesto, which you don't see in Congress, like nano fertilizer, like unique thinking. But again,
Well, Congress has a pretty good has a few good things as well. Like you have things that they're mentioning, for instance, like apprenticeship programs in which people like the youth will get employed, they'll get upskilled in some form or the
startup
other.
rebates, angel tax. We've discussed that. We did give
Huh?
them. Well, even angel tax reduction or something like that.
Even angel tax reduction, that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
So and the no, but the problem with Congress's manifesto in general is they want to give a lot of freebies. So the 1 lakh crore, 1 lakh thing was just one of those. On top of that, they've also said that they want to give sportsmen sportsmen who are under the age of 21, they want to give them 10,000 rupees a month so that they can sort of progress in that field. It's a great policy. But then, sure, I'm open to people getting more and more money. That's okay. That's a great thing. But that always comes at the cost of something, right?
Yeah. So, as a chronically underfunded country, would you want to spend on healthcare more, or would you want to? That's again an economics decision.
So you have to make those hard choices pretty much. Like, okay, this is a totally different example, but when Article 370 was introduced and the internet in that state had to be shut for
See,
a long time.
hang on. See, the thing with freebies is again, thought is good. If you have a direct benefit transfer program, it's good. It's about how you identify who gets the direct benefit and who doesn't. That is the critical aspect of success.
Direct, no, even the problem with a direct benefit scheme is that if you outright giving so much cash away, you have to fund it in some
No,
form or the other, right? You have to get the money first.
no, that's fine. That's fine. See, if you have people in India who can't afford, who are healthy, who are like good, able-bodied people,
Right.
um, and they can't afford healthcare, for example, it makes sense to boost the aggregate demand of the economy through their means, right? Things like that. So direct
I'm not,
benefit.
I'm not averse to offering them healthcare to a certain degree for free. I'm not
The
averse
point is
to.
direct benefit transfers, right, is a very good economic policy. But the issue is you have, because it's directly, it's a very quick result, expedient reform, right? The problem with direct benefit transfer historically has been how do you select who receives the benefit? And that
Uh,
is very critical, right? I
for
mean, the
instance,
selection.
do you remember what happened in the US when the $1,200 started being given out to people who are
When
unemployed?
rich people got it, poor people got it.
The number of people who wanted to sort of just remain unemployed for the sake of getting those $1,200 a week, $1,200 a week, or maybe it was 900 or 1,200 during COVID. Because of that, later on, places like McDonald's, Starbucks, Subway found it increasingly difficult to find employment, to find people to be employees in their places. Because people were making more money just getting this free money from the government, 900 or $1,200, than actually going out there and working. So, I mean, such stupid policies don't really take you anywhere.
Don't be that hard. It was implemented poorly, but direct benefit schemes are a very real economic policy tool which can do good if implemented properly.
Okay, another
Maybe.
example of a great policy for that matter is simply RERA, right? Do you want to talk
Oh, do they
about
have
the
it here?
benefits
Do
of
they have
RERA?
it here? Hey, do we have it here, like in the manifesto?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
will strengthen the RERA Act.
How?
We will
How?
facilitate home ownership for middle income families through comprehensive measures, including cost reduction in construction and registration regulatory, like enabling automatic approvals of standard housing designs and promoting mixed use of housing. I think one of the things which is really complex in the current system as well is, I don't know, so the colloquial term for this is Naksha pass karwana.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So I mean, they want to strengthen that. That's what they pretty
Go
much
down, go
mean
down.
by
No,
automatic
that's.
approvals.
Yeah.
Automatic approvals of standard housing designs. That's pretty much what it means.
Go down, go down, go down, go down. Expand. So natural gas pipeline again is damn good.
Uh,
Insane. I like that infra bit.
no, it's pretty good. The policies in
Oh,
general are
oh,
pretty
wait, ease of mobility. Hang on, let me read that one. Nay, it's not. Oh, AI in traffic management. I hope they do it well. It's a
That
good
is a
thought.
great catch. Where do
It's a
they?
good thought, but I don't know how. Again, it doesn't. But yeah, it doesn't talk about how, but it's a good thought. Nevertheless.
But
Go left.
manifestos are
Go left.
inherently
Go
not
left.
supposed to
No,
talk
go
about the house
left. Go left. Go left. Go previous page. हाँ, ये देख. No, go left. Go left.
left.
Yeah, ये देख. Green hydrogen. But that's
Uh,
insane. I love this bit. Um, Thermax, I was looking at Thermax as a stock. It
uh,
talked about green hydrogen and the
no,
incentives
for
the
that matter,
government.
Adani Enterprises is very like they're investing very heavily on green energy, green
Because
hydrogen.
again, energy is so critical for us as a nation, dude. If they
Every
track,
big player is entering green hydrogen in general, man, in India. In fact, do you know this? Even in steel manufacturing, the use of hydrogen has gone up substantially because it produces green steel instead of coal.
what is okay?
So coal is basically used in the process of making steel, right? They're
Yeah,
trying to
smelting.
replace that with hydrogen, and they're calling
It's
it green steel.
the byproduct of the combustion reaction is water, right? Is that
Huh,
right?
I think so.
They can
Okay.
tap it and filter it, so you have more. I guess I don't know if that's possible, but you may have that.
Expanding the e-bus fleet, open landfill-free cities.
Hey, e-bus is damn good.
E-bus is pretty good, but I think that was also in, by the way,
Only if
Congress.
we complement it with a more renewable energy mix. It's really good.
That was also a part of
Congress,
Congress
Congress,
manifesto.
yeah. So we have props to Congress as well, I guess.
No, so inherently the two manifestos are not very, very different, honestly.
Go,
They're
go next.
so 80%, I would say 80% of the manifestos are exactly the same. It is the 20% that is making all the difference. So Congress is really talking about freebies, and as you mentioned in the
नहीं
conversation
यार
yesterday,
वही है ना they're exploiting जैसे वो state versus center issue,
correct.
right? Federalism, all of that kicking in, right?
To
So if you
come
look
into
at,
power, they need to have these kind of freebies and
yeah,
policies.
yeah,
Basically, after listening to these things, if you're a normal person, right? Let's assume that you were not as privileged as you are. Or if I was not as privileged as I am, I was like the average Indian household making $3,000 per annum, right? That translates to what right now 2 lakh, 1.5 lakh rupees per annum. Now, if somebody talked about me getting 1 lakh rupees, so that just means my income is going up by 50%. Yes, obviously, I would love it. I'll vote for them. So that is pretty much what they're exploiting. Now, will that happen or will that not happen? Nobody knows.
See, that's what I'm saying, right? Abhi to kar denge, it's an expedient reform, great stuff, right? But think about the chain of outcomes it will cause. I
हाँ
would
हाँ ये
suspect
आपको please say,
inflation
will
would
it
go up
force?
substantially because you suddenly have a increase in money supply. I'm guessing that's how it works, right? Like
हाँ
you
हाँ inflation will go
increase
up.
the money with the inflation should go up because
And
demand, like industry.
on top of that, fiscal deficit also would increase.
Yeah, that's very scary. And then you'll have 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the line, you'll have, oh my God, so much of a. See, again, if you use debt to fund consumption, right,
हाँ, it's
instead of
always
investment, it's so bad because you have to pay interest rate on from your taxes only.
precisely what went wrong with Kerala. Kerala took a lot of debt and they used it all to fund their freebies
Fiscal
instead of
prudence,
investing in
man, fiscal
infrastructure.
prudence. To some degree, you have to run a government like a compassionate business, right? Compassionate
Pretty
being
much.
important,
Pretty
not
much.
a capitalistic business, but like a compassionate, a capitalistic business.
So
So
I'm not totally against freebies as many of you might think, but like
no,
I think
as
there
I
are
said, freebies are really good, but freebies
हाँ
again, for example, vaccine freebie, really good,
हाँ
right? So point is you have to hunt the beneficiary of this freebie and execute the transfer mechanism very well. Otherwise, you have the most scope for corruption when distributing freebie, right? Oh, we
By the
got this.
way, just putting it out there, we've got a comment that I really like. It says, "Ab ki baar 400 par."
Dude, just, क्या बोले इनको एमपी दे के वोट करो ना यार ये मतलब हाँ ठीक है ऑल राइट
नहीं नहीं, I don't think so. I disagree with you there. You need to vote for the overall policy. MP देखकर वोट करने का लोकसभा में उतना कोई फायदा नहीं होता. I don't think so.
because of that thinking we don't have good governance, dude. Like if I vote for somebody who, because if you put their seat in power, you have a lot more public good provision at the local level, which is what is so important to like nah, dude, let's just agree to disagree there, I guess.
Well, let's agree to disagree there, sure. ठीक है, this is pretty much with regards to अभी बाकी तो sustainability, good governance, these are
Hey,
all
let's
the
look at
things that
sustainability. It's important. I'm curious.
funnily
Hey,
enough
hey,
दोनों
hey,
का
what is
याद
this?
है.
What is this? What is this? What is this? Previous page. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Technology and innovation.
Something interesting there. Go
It's
in.
along with lines of NASA, not NASA, sorry, ISRO and all of that. So robust R&D,
Do they have
launching
any
that.
concrete, like established geospatial data excellence?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't think we have anything here. Like
Let's just very
specific.
the way we just went through BJP's manifesto. Let's just very quickly do that with Congress's as well. And
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty much it. Uh, screen share. Okay, lovely. Let's go from the very start. Introduction. So Congress ka manifesto, the one thing which I really love about it is that it's very neatly presented.
Yeah, ठीक है यार. Let's go to the main shit. Come on.
So they've talked
What is
about pretty
what
much
kind?
this. Unemployment rate is 40% amongst the youth. Farmers have lost hope. We've lost the
ये
sense
सब
of
नहीं चाहिए
security.
यार. मेरे को पॉलिसी बता क्या बात करें ये लोग करने की. Give me that shit. Um,
Reservations. Equity is precisely about that.
what is the formal term for reservation? I'm forgetting.
Okay, so the Rajasthan model of cashless insurance up to 25 lakh rupees will be adopted with universal healthcare. Not a bad policy. I like it.
Why?
No, because I mean, honestly, if something major goes wrong with any family. So, India, mein a very big problem is that insurance cover in general is very less. So, government to a certain degree is kind of guaranteeing that.
But don't you think if adopted poorly, you'll have a very big.
If adopted poorly, that's like every other policy, right? If
Yeah, fair enough,
executed
fair
or
enough.
adopted poorly, it can
Yeah,
lead to
but at
also.
least you may have better healthcare. ऊपर. So this is nice. Maternity benefits. I
Correct,
think
absolutely. Even this for that matter. To
increase
achieve
labor.
4% of total expenditure by 28-29 on healthcare. Currently, it's right around 1.5 or 2%.
Yeah, that's very good. Uh, go up. This is very good. This is very good. Double the hardship allowance for doctors, right? Give them incentives to be doctors in the first place. I think we don't do a good job there. So yeah,
By the way, one thing which I remember about Congress in general was I was listening to the speech by
this is also
Maligaru.
nice. No hospital or medical college shall be permitted to be opened unless 75% of the medical point 12, nahi, 11. Point 11, dude, go up. Why is scrolling down? Go up. Point 11, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's good.
Midday meals.
Hey, this
Unit
is also
price
so nice. Wait, wait, stop. Point
76.
19. 19.
Makes sense.
What do you think about this?
I mean, that's a good act.
No, but what do you think of the current state? Don't you think it's so
It's
bad?
gone pretty bad, particularly during COVID and after COVID. Particularly during COVID, actually. So it was pretty bad.
It's not good, yeah.
Youth.
Let's see. Let's see.
Congress guarantees a new right to apprenticeship act to provide 1 year apprenticeship with private or public sectors. I don't know how will they execute this. Like 1 lakh rupee a year. Will they pay it themselves again, or like do they expect the company to pay it, or are they incentivizing the company to pay them? पता नहीं इसमें क्या करना है. They have not mentioned anything with regards to that. इसमें तो पता नहीं है. But it's a very generic theme. I don't know. 30 lakh vaccines. Good policy again. We will abolish application fee
Wait,
for
why
government.
is third a good policy?
Huh?
Why is third a good policy?
No, because I mean it's gonna make sure that vaccines are given like on a more
Vaccine
regular
की
basis.
vacancies लिखा है वो पढ़ के देख.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, I was just scrolling through. I mean, sure.
पढ़ up and give your comment. You can't do a poor
It's
job
very
of being.
very generic.
Oh,
But
that's not.
again, I think it makes sense.
All
There
right.
are a lot of there are a lot of empty seats for that matter in central government. I don't know much about this in all fairness. It would be
I
bad for
don't.
me to
I
comment.
don't know if there are, but yeah. Even I'm curious. I don't know how to
But I've
evaluate.
read about this. I've also read about this that there were like X number of it, and this X number was in lakhs of empty seats with regards to even police services and things of those lines.
Let's not talk without facts, but yeah, we can table this as something we don't know. We can admit that, right? And go ahead to something we do.
This was what I was talking about. Congress will provide sports scholarships of 10,000 rupees per month for talented and budding sports persons below the age of 21.
How
Again,
are they determining talented and budding, right?
and 10,000 per month, we're talking 1.2 lakh rupees.
And how many do they have? They defined the budget?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, is it? Yeah.
But how will they even determine that right now without actually conducting an analysis? So, more power to them.
Maybe I mean, wouldn't you think they should give some points? Ki, हाँ, we can spend this much or something. थोड़ा
हाँ,
तो.
but वो बोलेंगे नहीं ना, that goes against the
Or I
plans.
don't think even BJP does that. I guess. Yeah. Let's see.
BJP hasn't done that either.
What do you think both manifestos, from a very high level structural strategic point, do a bad job together? Matlab, like for me, I would say they
Manifestos in
focus.
general, they don't exactly talk about the strategies which they use to execute those things, or they
Yeah.
don't talk about a lot of
It's all
data points.
advertising. Oh yeah, more talk,
Exactly.
not enough concrete.
It's a lot of advertising than anything else. You're right.
And again, they focus so much on quantity than quality, right? Like if they just talk about okay, these are the five key things which we
Five
want.
pillars.
They
Absolutely.
prioritize their reforms, right? Like this is like they color code and prioritize which reforms would be the ones which they would want to, they don't budge on, and yeah, that'll be good, more
No, no,
beneficial for us.
no doubt
Yeah,
about that.
as we
Another
go.
one, Congress will increase the number of Kendra Vidyalayas and so forth.
That's
So I
good, I
like
guess.
that policy as well. That's a great policy.
Yeah.
Government
What else?
community colleges in every tehsil after completing 12 years. Again, what I'm concerned about is the quality in
Yeah.
these community colleges. Like India में second, third tier, fourth tier private colleges की हालत इतनी खराब है. I don't even know how a community college would be run.
Now, for
I don't know.
example, I think I'm not sure, but I remember somebody talking about this. Some of the really bad, poor medical colleges do a very shady job in producing
Oh
doctors
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Hey, hang on. Point 17. What is
Point
this?
17. Education loan program to college who implemented under the UPA government and construct banks to extend collateral fee education loans up to
बात
7.
बता यार एजुकेशन जो है वो SC ST OBC EWS and minorities
EWS
की
है ना?
भी क्यों मिलनी
EWS है.
चाहिए like why can't a general category student who is poor get this benefit
EWS
like
वही होता है ना, economically weak sections.
नहीं but why are they distinguishing it on the basis of ST ST right who like the SC ST victims
You
would
can't
fall
give
into
collateral free loans to everybody. You can't do that.
why would a privileged or a well-to-do SC ST
हाँ,
deserve this
You're absolutely right. I think reservation purely on the lines of caste, I don't agree with it inherently. It should be purely now on the lines of EWS. Only economically weak people. Reservation, even when it was first introduced, was never meant to be. B.R. Ambedkar never like sort of envisioned reservation to be a permanent thing. But no government has the guts right now to remove reservation. Because अगले दिन दंगे होने शुरू हो जाएंगे.
Uh,
So nobody has the guts to do that. But honestly, it should be reserved for EWS and minorities. Minorities. Okay, let's move on.
minorities.
Minorities.
Minorities are the main majority.
Minorities.
Minorities are
Let's
majority
let's
there.
not talk about this, please.
Yeah. Oh. I
Yeah.
don't want somebody to beat me up tomorrow. So,
Yes. Likewise.
smoke.
Okay. Online courses, and I've anyway been getting a lot of hate comments on YouTube Shorts. So
Minorities. Yeah, minorities.
yeah. Online courses and digital learning have gained importance, and we will ensure that all students class 9 to 12 will have mobile phones. ये पक्का उससे लिया हुआ है यार, ये अखिलेश यादव से लिया हुआ है. We'll provide laptops.
Go ahead. We don't
By
think
the
we're
way,
having.
tell me about this. Do you know a part of the Communist Manifesto, CPI's manifesto?
What about it?
India will get rid of all its nuclear weapons. Can you believe that?
Go to federalism. I don't want to talk about this. It's the trigger, man. Go to federalism. Sorry. I'm very curious to know what they have on federalism. Go to federalism now. What are you doing? Click on the left side.
फेडरलिज्म से पहले वर्कर्स को इकोनॉमी करना जरूरी है.
No, no. I'm curious about
Wait,
federalism first.
wait, it's okay. It's okay. Calm down. Manrega wage would be increased to 400 rupees per day. That's not a terrible idea.
It's also direct benefit transfer.
That
Yeah.
means 12,000 rupees per month. That makes sense. Uh, PDS again. That's a good public
See, एक
distribution.
बात बता, we will collaborate with to open Indira canteens, right? See, I get it. Do you नहीं, point 11.
हाँ.
ठीक है. My point is this: people who contribute tax, right? Like maybe Ratan Tata or somebody else, right? Don't you think if we incentivize them
That will
by
not happen for a long time. That will
नहीं
not
तो
happen.
हर चीज इंदिरा में क्यों यार? Like why can't some other people, right? Like
ये
मिल्खा
दोनों
सिंह के नाम
गवर्नमेंट करती है. ये दोनों गवर्नमेंट करती है.
no, so so yeah, so even for BJP, I guess like you know people
That will not
from
happen in India till the time we don't get rid of our socialist roots. Because in a socialist route, you have to think about who is really sort of really truly admired. Which group of people are truly admired in a socialist community, in a socialist group or a communist group
who
or a
says
country? It's always going to be bureaucrats which are truly admired. And in a capitalist country, it is always wealth creators that are truly admired.
no, I'm not saying it should be just wealth creators or just socialists, right? It should be much broader,
No,
right?
you're right about that. You're right, but this wouldn't happen anytime soon. And by the way, you also have to think of the fact that Congress is largely a dynastic party. So if I was a part of a
No,
dynastic
you
party,
talk about BJP also, right? Like, ठीक है, but there are a lot of people, like, okay, not just Gandhi ji, right? But so many people fought for the freedom struggle. I think Bollywood is doing a very decent job, right? Have you heard of Udham Singh or like these martyrs, right? Or even if you look at the post-independence period, uh, what about some people from the army or
that is
I
a
don't know.
great idea, no doubt about that. But I don't think that's
How about a person who's consistently paid the highest tax and not evaded tax,
there are a lot of people,
irrespective of
a lot of individuals like Akshay Kumar for that matter. I think his name constantly comes up. He's
or
the
or
highest.
somebody who's done in general something to build the nation, right? Like,
होना
see,
चाहिए absolutely.
I don't even know them, right? I'm trying to think of names and I can't. It's
By
probably
the way,
because
talking about the PDS very quickly,
Hmm.
recently Mallikarjun Kharge said कि बीजेपी आपको 5 kg देती है चावल और ये सब, हम आपको 10 kg देंगे. Dude, freebies bro, come on. बीजेपी 5 kg देती है, हम 10 kg देंगे, हमें वोट करो. It's just sad. It's outright sad.
What else?
And also, by the way, it's sad in every country. It's not that this is the case just in India. The US is equally fucked up, and so is the UK. It's just the same everywhere. MSMEs. It's a good strategy. Again, no idea as to exactly how to implement it. Bilateral trade agreement. This is good. But by free trade, they mainly talking about SARC nations over here. SARC nations, nahi. I'm forgetting the
Bricks,
name.
bricks, bricks.
BRICS. Not even BRICS, yeah. There's also one. There was initially a pact between Pakistan, India, and like the immediate neighbors. I'm forgetting the name, and the part was that we'll have, and then BJP removed it because Pakistan के
Can
साथ
we
लफड़ा हो गया
quicken the review bit? थोड़ा?
था. We're opposed to monopolies. BJP 400 पार bro. 100 में फोन उठा लिया था.
Oh, it's so ironic. Point nine is so ironic. We're opposed to monopolies, oligo, and crony capitalism. Wow. I guess they've learned their lesson probably. Hope they. Uh, August
No, but
arrest.
they'll always say that we've always opposed it. हम अडानी अंबानी के खिलाफ होते हैं. They'll say something along those
Robert
lines.
Vadra दामद विकास योजना.
Wait. Oh,
um,
I
cool,
got your
cool.
point.
Um,
We'll address growing inequality of wealth.
this is
Dude,
good.
this
This
is
is
not at all. They will have higher income taxes. They will introduce more capital gains taxes. They will do things along those lines. Wealth के बारे में क्या किया है इन्होंने? Oh, हाँ, they've talked about alas due to BJP's mismanagement, the GDP only reached 173 lakh crores and not 200 lakh crores. There was nothing called COVID in between.
5 trillion.
Oh,
5
हो
trillion
जाता
money.
है. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have been there. COVID basically destroyed 2 years of economic development. By 2026, we'll anyway be at 5 trillion.
I don't know about that. I
Oh,
would
we
reserve my.
we're already at 4, man.
No, that's fine, but I'm not too like I wouldn't want to make that comment. So yeah,
Taxation and tax reforms. Let's look at this. हाँ ये
ancient
तो देखा ही है ना अभी तुरंत देखा है जीएसटी न्यू कोड्स
GST,
सेक्राज
cess,
हटाएंगे
GST, agriculture, but shopkeepers and small thing can go down, go down, go down, go down, go down.
manufacturing hub. What is this?
Hmm.
Installed or delayed cost have risen by nearly 5 lakh. The best part is that most of this happened during the Congress government. And it is a project that were initiated and started by the Congress government, where there have been delays and the costs have risen substantially. Even BJP में भी हुआ है, but substantially more during the Congress's regime.
Mhm.
New ELIs will
Cool down.
reform ELI, which means they'll continue it. So they're adopting a principle introduced by BJP here. I like that. For that matter, even BJP is struck with principles introduced by Congress, like Aadhaar card for that matter inherently was Congress's idea, if I'm not wrong, and so was GST. So they ended up executing these things properly.
Hmm.
Infrastructure again, it's pretty good. Oh, look at this. Ha ha ha! I remember this. Wait, uh, they basically talked about how the PPP model is pretty much bad.
Why?
Doesn't make sense. So their point was that you're using public funds and then you're giving it out to private parties to run and maintain,
Okay.
which is inherently not true. Road tolls are perceived by road users as excessive and exploitative.
I don't know. How else would you incentivize somebody to build
Pretty much.
and do the
Why
capex,
else would somebody build? The only alternative is that the government outright pays all the money upfront.
which is again a very heavy.
टोल में क्या होता है ना कि even if it's a 1 lakh crore project, the government only has to put in 10,000 crores of their own capital. The private company puts in a large amount of the rest of the capital, and then once the thing is ready, you use the toll to sort of
A certain
cover
period,
the
yeah.
expenses and
And then you
expenses.
transfer the ownership back to the government. So
After 30 40 years or something like that, yes. Which
maybe
I have
more.
like that policy. It's like federalism, your favorite topic.
Yeah, I'm curious what do they have? Like, is there
India's
actually
union
a good
states.
reform?
They have talked about south of India for that matter. Yes, to how they are providing a lot of the taxes.
I wish we could get some good perspective on this stuff from some educated, erudite person.
Just read through them very quickly.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to evaluate this, so I'm not
Oh,
sure.
very generic.
Grams, but maybe seventh is good. I'm not sure. Maybe,
Ah, we will immediately restore full statehood of Jammu and Kashmir.
I don't know. Yeah, obviously not good. Mm, maybe tenth is. I don't know. I mean,
What I don't know about this. What is special category status?
beats me. We should know about this. We don't.
I don't know anything about this.
You should research about it. Yeah.
It's actually
Cool.
Google this.
Next off.
Special category status.
Let's wrap the other three quickly. Also,
Yeah,
come
cool.
on. Um,
Basically, it is advantages that are given to a state which face geographical disadvantages. Again, मनरेगा आ गया वापस. Rural and urban development.
go down. Go down. Go down.
In India, urbanization is constantly taking place, and we must pay equal attention to rural development and urban development.
I really feel if they would prioritize which reforms they would want, or so it would be so much easier to look at the manifesto. Oh, this is nice. A northeastern.
Northeast states, right? This is pretty good. We will assess the infrastructure deficit in these places and
That's
address
good.
the national security. They want to also increase the military budget. पता नहीं कहाँ से लाएंगे इतना पैसा ये लोग. But also BJP has also talked about this more.
We should actually look at the budget someday.
We should look at the budget someday. क्या हो गया?
Go down. Go down. How fifth
What?
point like the, and I'm just saying that they should tell how, right? Like trafficking कैसे करोगे मतलब चल ठीक है नीचे जाओ.
You know when Adani ports में बहुत सारे drugs मिले थे, they put an entire issue that Adani is responsible. Adani drug smuggling कर रहा है.
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
won't
honestly,
comment on that.
it is understandable because that's voters politics, vote bank politics. Again, if you criticize one party, you criticize one set of people, then your odds of getting success increase
इतना
substantially.
bias मतलब थोड़ा balance to रख ले. But yeah, I get it. Like maybe it's not good enough to blame him,
You
but
know,
yeah,
I
it's
always play on the edges. Interestingly, when I like prior to 2021, I was a fan of prior to 2020. In fact, I was a fan of Congress,
you're a
and I
fan
hated
of Congress. Okay.
Congress, and I hated BJP.
Pakistan fans fundamental.
Environment.
Oh, this is nice. I hope they had something good here. I don't know why it's the last.
सबने दोनों ने लास्ट रखा है
No,
सस्टेनेबिलिटी में उसके
yeah, it's
लास्ट.
not good. Yeah, मतलब it just shows an approach of both people, like kind of apathetic. Like they're including it because it's a theme, not because they're maybe that serious on it. But I don't know. I feel it should be good
India
simply.
experienced the biggest loss of forest cover after Brazil between 2015 and 2020.
Interesting.
We will ensure
Uh,
the use of LPG cylinders is increased. दोनों केसेस में गेल इज बेनिफिटिंग.
उसमें pipeline है.
पाइपलाइन है बट दोनों केसेस में गेल तो बेनिफिट्स ना बिकॉज इट्स.
No, no doubt. I've been pitching Yale to you for a while now,
Dude, I bought गेल.
but I pitched it to you. Let's be clear on that.
I don't think that's true. I don't exactly remember it. I
What the?
don't,
Are
I don't
you
remember.
kidding me? You don't want to do this live? I do. Fine.
No, it's
Okay.
fine. We can, no, it's not like a lot of people are watching, so it's
It's not
cool.
like we bought it either, but ठीक है.
But I bought Gale.
मतलब not for the long haul. ना जितना
In
we should
fact,
have
we
bought.
did an entire podcast on Gale. Like this is back in 2021 itself. 2021 or two, I don't remember. One of the 2 years.
I introduced you to Yale. Come on.
Fair enough.
HVJ pipeline. Look at their infra. Cool,
We
cool.
first looked at Mahanagar Gas, and then we were like, Mahanagar Gas is a
I
subsidiary of
introduced you to Mahanagar gas, and the reason I know this is because my
Mahanagar
father,
Gas. You introduced me to. I know that.
and that's
And I
how I
was like,
introduced you to Yale.
बहुत महंगा है Gale relatively बहुत सस्ता है. Price to earnings बहुत कम है. वो सब बहुत कम है. Plus they own Mahanagar.
That's not true. I researched Gale properly. But anyway, let's. Oh, okay. Green transition fund. Okay, that's nice. Uh, okay, this is also a good topic.
Water management and sanitation. I like this.
Yeah.
Iron exchange.
An exchange.
None of this is investment advice, guys. We are not
Oh,
SEBI RIAs.
good idea.
Disclaimer: we are just playing around. We are fooling around. We're just talking about our own experiences at this moment.
Go down, go down.
We're not educated on investing. Don't learn anything from us. Don't listen to us
Oh,
when it
shut
comes
the
to
fuck up. Look at some of this stuff here, right? Let's see.
this is good, man.
Oh, what is it? A comprehensive program of underground drainage and safe disposal of sewage. Isn't this a thing which Singapore does? They don't have any waste. The circularity is very.
I think from what I remember is Singapore takes all of his wastes and just sends it to another island, and they
No,
just
no,
dump
they incarcerate it and then they use that ash as a byproduct for
for plants and so forth.
maybe, but I think what I remember is they make certain tiles and then use it for public infra.
Let's just look at the appeal that they've said. हाँ वो ash is used in public infra. You're right.
है ना?
There are certain types of bricks as well. And जैसे हम लोग ethanol blending कर रहे हैं ना petrol में, they do ash kind of blending to create infra products.
That's a good policy to have.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! Widespread unemployment, high inflation, and falling consumption. That's
I
BS, dude. Inflation used to be much higher during Congress's regime. What are they even talking about? I don't understand.
inflation.
Oh my God! Look at this. The country's economic development through 1950s and 1960s with what? 97% taxes. With what? Nationalization. Nationalize ye kar do, nationalize hoga. What on?
Hey, are you sure nationalization happened during the 1950s and 60s? I don't
I
think
think
so. Wasn't it Indira Gandhi in 80?
1970s was, it also continued in 1970s, but it began in
50s
1960s.
and 60s were good for India. What are you saying?
50s were okay, 60s were not good.
Hang on, let
In
me.
fact, in the 1950s, we had the Great Bengal Famine.
What?
60, yes, we had a famine in 1950.
Wait, isn't this Lal Bahadur Shastri like took over and did well?
Lal Bahadur Shastri, no, famine happened a little before. It happened
And
in
we should be way
43.
more well read and educated than we are. But yeah.
That's fine. I mean, as a result of this, we're learning a bit, aren't we now?
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Go ahead and I want to know this right now. Check. Let's see.
Famine in India happened in 1965.
Who was the prime minister then? I'm guessing it was Lal Bahadur Shastri, but I'm
I'm
not
also
sure.
thinking it's Lal Bahadur Shastri, huh?
That's what I said, right?
Which is when he said this dialogue,
हाँ एक बार रोटी खाओ. He led by example. We
and then
try to do a lot of self-sufficiency in terms of food grain production and stuff.
no, but honestly, a lot of socialist policies were introduced during this period. There was an account of the conversation between J.R.D. Tata and Jawaharlal Nehru, wherein he mentioned the word profit, and then Nehru said that we don't want a single mention of the word profit in this room, like in his cabin, in Jawaharlal Nehru's cabin. Not a single, because he was really inspired by the Soviet Union, and readily so, because back then, at that point in time, it was not so evident that the
Look,
Soviet
I
Union was.
just feel Nehru doesn't get the credit he deserves. Like he did screw up. There were a lot of policy failures under him, but what's really true as well is that initially starting a growth with the kind of economy we inherited from the British, it wasn't an easy feat. Like his
So plus
policies.
catch was that it was capitalism that conquered the country. So British inherently were capitalists. They came to the country and we just got independence from the capitalists, which is why we could not have adopted capitalism as a system purely on from a very social standing. Which is why socialism was adopted and Russia was a big supporter of India at that point in time. Not Russia, I mean USSR. So because of that, I think socialism was adopted. But yeah, I mean Indira Gandhi was a disaster.
So 50s and 60s was I think good growth. So I
You
don't
said
think
the
the factually wrong here. Factually wrong नहीं है मेरे ख्याल से यहाँ पर ये लोग. But yeah, hang
high.
on. Because governments fought the wars. Okay, this is I don't know a bit sus. Did the government fought? Is it the government? Fair enough, I guess.
That's BS, dude. That's
But
BS.
didn't we lose 65 poorly? Like ये क्या लिखा है इन्होंने? Government fought the war 65. What we our sovereignty was threatened. You couldn't protect Tibet. This is wrong. They shouldn't mention 65. Wasn't it a failure for us?
Yeah, in fact, Nehru never wanted the country to have a military in the first place. Do you know
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
we know the story.
Plus, Tibet के केस में तो क्या हुआ था? The
Rajiv.
British directly were giving Tibet to India, and then Nehru was like कि नहीं China को रखना है, China को रखना है, China is a friend, and they let China enter through Jammu and Kashmir to get Tibet because they felt that China was a close ally.
Hmm.
So I'm very critical of the government for these reasons. I used to be the biggest supporter of Congress before this, and like now, I mean, ever since I
Maybe who
don't.
knows? 10 years down the line, you'll be the biggest supporter of Congress again, or
I mean, I
BJP.
can constantly change, and I mean that just means that your mind is constantly evolving and growing, right? Who knows? Maybe I will. Who knows? Nobody knows that. But I don't think.
ये
Maybe one
गलत
day
है
I'll
यार,
support
I
of
don't agree
Communist
with
Party. Who knows?
freedom, more equitable, greater freedom, faster growth, more equitable development, and justice for all. Let's see. That's nice.
Pooh, 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 pooh. That's pretty much it.
bulwark against illiberalism and authority. Yeah, so ironic. The only
Dude,
time
they are talking about dude. Everybody says Modi is a dictator. Modi is did. Modi is 75 booths got banned under Nehru's government. Indira Gandhi introduces what do you call
emergency.
it? Emergency, and you calling. You know, there is one account. Do you know क्या नाम है इसका? Lee Kuan. He was a
Lee Kuan
Singapore
Yew.
guy.
Yeah,
Lee
yeah,
Kuan
it's
Yew.
correct.
So at one point in time, Singapore Airlines and Indian Airlines wanted to have a tie-up. ठीक है? At that point in time, there was the entire thing went forward, and Singapore Airlines also wanted to buy 50% stake in Air India. And at this point in time, Air India was already nationalized. What this is an account, and Lee Kuan Yew was told that this cannot happen as Air India is a nationalized entity. It is owned by a certain family. It is owned and controlled by a certain family, and they would not be willing to sell 50% of it. And owned by and controlled by a certain family over here was, as you can understand, whom I'm talking about.
Authority. It's
I mean,
good. It's good.
honestly, I'm glad
Very
that we have.
ironic. Last, a lot of things which they don't see. They
I'm
should.
so glad that we don't have a lot of followers and not a lot of people watching, which is precisely why I'm able to say these kind of things. Otherwise, कल को जाकर के अगर कांग्रेस पावर में आ गई मैं कैंसिल हो जाऊंगा यार.
We in general would be the first ones to get cancelled, right? I don't think we
Who
see a lot of good.
cares? I mean,
It's fine.
as long as stock markets don't
You
totally die.
just you just started off by saying I'll get cancelled, so I'm happy people aren't watching this. So you care.
I know that is
Don't
true.
be.
I don't care because I think Shah Rukh Khan said this, like be rich before you are before you throw
Yeah,
floss
it's
people.
shut the fuck up.
I'm
Okay.
just not
Oh,
there
dude,
yet.
this is very nice though. The
That
Tagore's
might
poem.
is without. Oh my God! Look at this.
I mean, it's a very beautiful prayer.
So I think we should read this, and that is precisely how we should be talking about the things that we're talking about.
Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, the knowledge is free, where the world has not been
अब की
broken up
बार मोदी सरकार.
into fragments, the narrow domestic
With
walls.
head held high.
It's so beautiful, dude. Such a beautiful prayer.
Swear.
Cool. Let's end this up now. Wrap it up.
Chalo.
Thanks.
Lovely. Hope you guys found this useful.
Um,
We were quite stupid the way we conducted this, honestly. I'm glad not a lot of people were watching.
School,
So
school.
it was
All
fun. I
right.
think we should do more of these things, man. They were
Yeah,
just
yeah. Let me just call you. Yeah. All right, dude. Chalo.
Chalo.
Bye.
Bye.